Welcome to another episode of Meal Prep Monday. I'm your host and founder of Prep Dish, Allison Schaaf. Today, I'm excited to talk about something that has been on my mind, or I guess my schedule, quite a bit over the summer, and that is teaching the kids to swim. Even if this is not anywhere near something you are interested in, I'm going to dive deeper into consistency and also taking another look at batching versus not with different activities. And I know, anyway, we're going to get into it in this episode. So yes, we're going to talk about swim lessons, but we're going to go further into it than just swim lessons. Before getting into the content, a reminder that if you have not tried our time-saving meal prep meal plans, you can head to prepdish.com/MPM. That's short for Meal Prep Monday. Give it a try for 2 weeks for free. This is a good way. 14 days, you'll get access to all the meal plans, see, what it's all about, see if it's a fit for you, give it a try, see if your family likes the meals. That's linked in the show notes, but it's prepdish.com/MPM for a 2-week free trial. Okay, so I have a 2 and 4-year-old. The 2-year-old is almost 3, and then sort of a 4.5-year-old. It's so funny at that age how the half years kind of make a difference. Like when they're almost 3, it feels a little odd calling him 2 because he feels so much older than when he just turned 2. Anyway, so we have been doing swim lessons this summer, and a very specific, so not ISR, but we found this instructor that is quite popular in the Austin area and does very short but intense lessons. Each kid is in the pool by themselves for about 10 to 15 minutes. And I've timed it. It's usually 10, 12 minutes max. And it's amazing what they can accomplish in those 10 minutes of just very kind of intense, lots of effort, lots of hard work time. And as we go through, the 4-day intensives with her, one of the then, after going through that is, keeping that up and being consistent. And that means continuing to get in the pool, but very specifically getting in the pool for short amounts of time. So her, I guess you could say, argument or reasoning is that if a kid is in the pool for longer than 10 minutes, they get really tired. And an overtired kid is much more likely to struggle, to, not be able to do what they could do 10 minutes prior. Even I've seen how hard my kids go over the course of 10 minutes. And I myself would be exhausted if I were swimming that hard for 10 minutes straight. So after doing, the lessons with her, we have this new little routine where some days before lunch, so always once a day, often before lunch, and then sometimes after dinner. It's not always both of those times, but one of those times we typically are in the pool. The lunchtime, it's usually me and the au pair, and then after dinner, it's me and my husband that are in with them. Always 2 of us, but we get in I actually set a timer for 6 minutes of we call it the training time, where they're doing these exercises they learned with her, 2 minutes of floating on their back, which is a really important skill for resting that she incorporates into her lessons. And then after that, it's 2 minutes of what we call playtime, usually just more of working on their exercises, but they can kind of do whatever they want. And I know that sounds like bam, 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 that's really fast. And it is. But they get a lot. They fit so much into those 10 minutes. And the more we've gone through this, I've realized that there is a lot that I've picked up in terms of, learning new habits and skills, making the most of our time and being really thoughtful and intentional with our time. So much that I've talked about already in previous episodes of this podcast, but so cool to see it applied and in a way that I never would have even thought to apply it had it not been for going through these specific swim instructions. I never would have thought to get in the pool every day, but only for 10 minutes, and what a difference that could make. Like each week they are making so much progress in their skills. And I firmly believe that they're making so much more progress by doing 10 minutes of this kind of very intentional and intense effort than they would say just getting in, a few days a week for an hour at a time, and just kind of like yes, playing around, which can be very helpful. But I think in terms of learning the skill of swimming, like the instructor pointed out, like you are going to get tired pretty darn quickly. And so I think this, consistency is so important as we've talked about in creating a habit, but also in building a new skill. And swimming is very much, a new skill to learn. And so as we've gone through this, I've of course tried to, apply to other areas in my life of, are there other or just like thinking through like, wow, this really is what I've talked about in the past in terms of habit creation. So a few things in there. So one is, creating a I'm going to say habit. This is they're kind of building a skill, but in order to build this skill, we've had to create the habit of, getting in the pool every day. And one of the things we talk about in habit formation is, how do you fit that in so that it's not like skipped? How do you fit that into your day? And one of the best ways is to do like this habit stacking thing and find something that you're already doing consistently and tack it onto that. So with this, it's ended up being either right before lunch or and dinner. Sometimes we do kind of switch it up of before dinner or after dinner, depending on the day and when dinner is going to be ready. But we've used really the meal times as our habit that we then stack the swimming on top of. It just kind of gives it a nice thing to tack onto and a way for even the kids to know like where it's going to be within the day and within their routine. So that's, been a key part to having this be a new habit that we have this summer in terms of them learning to swim. And then this has also made me kind of think through like, well, is this, when I first thought about it, I'm like, well, it's 10 minutes a day versus, these hour-long stretches. So is this the opposite of batching, which I talk a lot about, when it comes to meals and doing meal prep and how much more efficient it is to do, 1 hour a week versus these little short blasts. And I'm not backtracking on my on my meal prep stance. But one thing I do think in terms of meals, and I'm going to talk about this more in a few different ways, how we look at mealtime as a practice. So this is kind of, I'm going to hint about it here in this episode, but there's another episode coming down the line where I'm going to get into this in more detail. But to really look at these rhythms that we have in our lives as sort of a practice and a training for how we want our lives to be and how we want to live our lives. And so in that way, kind of a practice that is 10 minutes a day can be a really good way, yes, to create a new habit, but also a new skill. So if you are new to meal prep or even just newer to healthy eating, which means cooking from scratch. So if you're newer to cooking and trying to like build that skill of cooking, I do think that meal prep can be a good way to do it all in one setting. But at the end of the day, you're still eating every day you're eating, but you're probably going to be eating your meals at home most days and most evenings. And so having this practice of, 10 minutes, 15 minutes before you eat, going in and preparing dinner, that's sort of a building of a skill and a habit, depending on where you're at. If you're still kind of figuring out how to prepare healthier meals, then this is sort of similar to like this 10-minute swimming blast that we do every day. It's like really in 10 minutes, kind of just figuring out how do I throw together these meals and then getting the opportunity to do it again the next day, but not wearing yourself down and doing something super elaborate. And so I do feel as if Prep Dish, how we, have this system of, yes, you do the meal prep, but then from there, we're just giving you the opportunity every day of honing those skills of doing family meals, which may or may not be something that you are already accustomed to doing. And if it's not, then it's really kind of this new skill that you're learning. And I think just shifting the mindset, and we've talked about this in the past of like looking at mealtime and preparing meals as not something that you quote unquote have to do, but more as an opportunity. And what that opportunity is up to you of like what is most, I guess, attractive to you and calling out to you as an exciting opportunity. Is it learning new cooking skills? Is it doing better for yourself and or your family in terms of the quality of the food that you're eating? Is it focusing on the mealtime itself and the connection? And there's just so much to unpack even in looking at that and how each dinner time is sort of this opportunity. So I know I'm just kind of headed down a different path there, but I want to kind of sum this up by just saying that these swimming lessons, yes, they've been a lot of fun. It's been so cool to see the boys just go from not swimming to totally being these little like fish that just love it. They love, practicing their skills and getting in there, and very exciting to see how proud they are of themselves. I think there's a lot of self-confidence that comes in learning new skills, both for little ones as well as for us. So anytime we're learning new skills, it really is something that brings on this really cool sense of pride. So that's been fun to watch in them. But then, of course, I've enjoyed just seeing, again, how this, all these ideas of habit formation and skill building really do come together and play out in real life. So anyway, I hope you find this interesting and would love to hear from you if you're on our Facebook page for Prep Dish. If not, I'll link that in the show notes, but always feel free to post any thoughts on there. You can reach out on Instagram. Let me know if you have other topics you'd like to hear about. And again, if you have not tried Prep Dish, the link will be in the show notes, but it's just prepdish.com/MPM. And when you sign up, you'll get access to all of the different meal plans that we offer, including our super fast plans. It's a grocery list, really quick and easy meal prep instructions. And then again, each night you will have the opportunity to do quick, healthy, tasty meals, but we'll really guide you through that process. So, really holding your hand as you develop new habits and new skills in terms of food and cooking. That is all I have for this week. I will be back again next week with another episode.